Good morning, everyone. So it's 10 a.m. We're going to start our Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee meeting of Tuesday, August 30th. This, of course, is our regular September meeting, but we bumped it up to August to coincide with Council tomorrow. So we'll get a couple things will be going to Council directly tomorrow after today. So any declarations of interest? Confirmation of minutes from our meeting of June 29th, 2016. Carried. This is a public meeting to consider the proposed zoning bylaw amendments listed at items 3 to 8 on today's agenda. For items listed above, only those who make oral submissions today or written submissions before the amendments are adopted may appeal the matter to the Ontario Municipal Board. In addition, the applicant may appeal the matter to the Ontario Municipal Board if Council does not adopt an amendment within 120 days of receipt of the application for zoning and 180 days for an official plan amendment. A comment sheet is available at the door for anyone wishing to submit written comments on these amendments. So we'll get right to our items on the agenda here. We have item number 1 was deferred from our meeting in June. It was a response to inquiry from Councillor DeRuse. We are actually going to defer that again. I'll just get Councillor to just speak to it as to why right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. And we've been meeting and working with staff, and we come to conclusion there is not, we don't have a lots of 911 blade are effective only on major road. So we're trying to see how much money it's going to cost and how many houses are affected. So with the summer and things, so we're still working to get this number. So we're going to defer it for next.
Perfect. Yeah. So the issue is there was inferior sign blade that were purchased by Osgood Township several years ago, and they don't compare with the rest of the ones that are in the city, and they have deteriorated much more quickly than some of the others. So Councillor DeRuse has been looking into finding a way to replace the ones that were damaged, not by they were only damaged because Osgood didn't spend the money to get the right ones. Anyways, so on deferral. Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is status updates. Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee inquiries and motions for the period ending 23rd of August 2016. That the Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee received this report for information. On the item? Carried or received? Yes, thanks. Item number 3. Zoning bylaw amendment for part of 1333 John Quinn Road. That the Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for part of 1333 John Quinn Road to prohibit residential uses on retained farmland as detailed in document 2. Now this is just surplus farm severance. We do have someone here to speak to it, but I assume that they are in favor if we carry it. Perfect. We always carry these because they're simply just surplus farm services. So on item number 1, 3.1, is that carried? And 2, that Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee approve the public consultation section of this report to be included as the brief explanation in the summary of written oral submissions to be prepared by the clerk and the city solicitor's office and submitted to Council in tandem with this report, subject to submissions received between the publication of this report and 4 p.m. to the day prior to Council's consideration. On that? Carried. Just for the record, I'm not going to read that 5 times. So I'll just say the submissions portion because that's annoying. Item number 4, zoning bylaw amendment, part of 1075 John Quinn Road, same as item number 3. That the Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to the zoning bylaw 2008-250 for part of 1075 John Quinn Road to prohibit residential uses on retained farmland as detailed in document 2. And then the subsequent public consultation section of the motion. On the item? Carried. 1 and 2 carried. Thank you. Item number 5 is zoning bylaw amendment for part of 6220 and 6284 Malakoff Road. That the Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to the zoning bylaw 2008-250 for part of 6220 and 6284 Malakoff Road to prohibit residential uses on consolidated farmland and modify regulatory provisions as detailed in document 2. And the second part, the consultation section. On that item, carried on items 1 and 2. Item number 6, I'm actually going to hold that. Deputy Chief Sean Tracy is here to speak to that briefly, so I'm going to hold that item. That's a zoning bylaw amendment for 4041 Moody Drive. Item number 7 is a zoning bylaw amendment for part of 9339 Russell Road in Cumberland. It is that Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for part of 9339 Russell Road to prohibit residential uses on the retained farmland as detailed in document 2, and then the public consultation section of the motion. On the item, carried on 1 and 2. We do a lot of severances, and every severance has to come through here, as you know, as you might know. Item number 8 is a comprehensive zoning bylaw 2008-250 omnibus amendments for Q3 2016. There are a couple items in this. There are two more. I'll actually just hold that because there's a couple motions in, so we'll just deal with it when we get to it. Item number 9 is a front-end agreement for design and construction of the Richmond sanitary trunk sewer. I know Sean was here with a presentation. I don't think a presentation is necessary. It's simply just front-ending of some sanitary sewer construction work in the village of Richmond in correlation with the developments in the west part of Richmond. So this is just going to allow the developer to move on with the construction and to get it done before the end of this year. And I know there is a motion to advance it to council for tomorrow due to timeline. So I'll just read the motion, and then we'll go, and I think, yeah. So the item is that the Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend council 1, delegate authority to the General Manager Planning, Infrastructure and Economic Development Department to enter into a front-end agreement with Kyvan Development Corporation for design and construction of the Richmond sanitary trunk sewer as outlined in this report to an upset limit of $2,789,078.13 plus applicable taxes and indexing in accordance with the front-end agreement principles and policies set forth in documents 4 and 5, with the final form and content being the satisfaction of the city clerk and solicitor. And 2, approve the financial disbursement to reimburse the design and construction costs incurred by Kyvan Development Corporation pursuant to the execution of the front-end agreement. And 3, approve payment of $2,789,078.13 plus applicable taxes from the development charge forecast in 2018 subject to the front-ending agreement principles and policy. And then there is an amendment from Councillor DeRuse that speaks to the timing. So because this project hasn't been approved yet in terms of the funding, the front ending, we want to make sure that it gets done before the winter comes, before the end of the construction season. So this would normally come to council on September 14th, but we're going to bump it up to tomorrow so that the developer and the contractor can get on with the project. So therefore be resolved that the report proceed to council on August 31st, 2016. On the item as amended? Carried. Thank you. And item number 10 is an item that I put forward, notice of motion last council meeting, the last ERAC meeting. It's a future park at 38 Nixon Farm Drive in the Richmond Gate subdivision. It's that the Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend council approve a future park located within the Richmond Gate development at 38 Nixon Farm Drive be named Sarah McCarthy Park. This was a joint effort between the developer and the family of Sarah who came forward and were looking for a way to commemorate Sarah's memory. And we just couldn't go through the normal process because it didn't perfectly fit the policy. So we came through this way, and I know the developer is Tallis Holmes is quite pleased to be able to do this. I know the family is very receptive to what they were trying to do as well. So on that naming. Great. Thank you. So we'll go back to item number 6. Now this is it's a zoning bylaw amendment to permit a temporary training facility for Ottawa Fire Services just at the corner of Moody and Barnsdale. And I'll just ask Deputy Chief Sean Tracy to come up and just speak to it briefly, just to explain exactly what it is that we're doing here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In approximately April of this year, the National Research Council of Canada in Mississippi Mills, Carleton Place, shut down their Fire Research Training Center. We were in the midst of a multi-million-dollar grant, which we were requiring some live fire training to be conducted at Mississippi Mills. It left us without a facility where we could currently do that type of training. And so we identified, when working with the Environmental Services Division, a location at the intersection of Barnsdale Road and Moody Drive that would meet the initial concerns if it was processed through as a temporary rezoning. It would allow us to conduct live fire training that would allow us to then complete this grant process that we're doing with our international partners. The intention is that we would be using approximately 6 C-type containers that are modified to permit small-scale burning. The burning that is planned is nothing larger than probably approximately 6 pallet-sized loads, 6 loads of basically empty pallets is equivalent size, so considerably less than even what we would have happening with an open-air burning permit. This would allow us to then complete the grant with end of September, ideally, timeframe, and then again in the spring, and allow us to continue training our instructors.
Thank you, Chief. Question from Councillor Shantiri.
Thank you, Chief. So basically, Chief, if to put it in perspective, this will be just temporarily for 2 years use of this property, and if you need more, you'll have to come back to this committee for extension. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're looking at temporary for the 2 years. This is compatible with some longer-term plans and a business case that we have with the fire service. But then we recognize that it's a much more longer process for permanent rezoning. Yes.
Great. Thank you very much, and good luck, Chief. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, the intent here would be just because the timelines with their training program and getting it done within the period that they are required to, in partnership, I believe, with the NRC, they have to go through the temporary zoning right now, but if they wanted to use the site longer term, they would go through, we wouldn't extend the temporary zoning, they would go through a full rezoning process for that property. The property is currently city-owned. It's currently used it's been used in the past by our Trail Road facility for leaf and yard waste processing. I know just some of the residents nearby, I mean, the site is located within Rito Goulburn, and a lot of speculation regarding the Mississippi Mills site. So some of the comments of how are you containing the fire? How are you, putting it out? Where's the water runoff? How much water is used? These sorts of questions, of course, come up. I know you've spoken to me about them before, but we hear them from residents too. So just if you could just address those concerns that people might have.
Yes, Mr. Chair. What had happened at Mississippi Mills, there was a concern with regards to foam that was used 10 to 20 years ago in their testing. So they're a victim of basically their past sins. What we are looking at doing at this particular site is using a minimum amount of water. All water that we use is collected on site and will be sent for treatment through the city waste services. Again, when we did do we have already initially conducted some of this training at Mississippi Mills. We actually had no water that was used. It's such a minimum quantity, and we are not using any foam, even though the foam we use is different.
Right. Right. I appreciate that. Thank you, Chief. So, thank you for coming. So we'll move forward with the item here. So that Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 4041 Moody Drive to permit a training facility for Ottawa Fire Services for a temporary term of 2 years, as shown in Document 1 and detailed in Document 2. And that Agricultural Affairs Committee approve public consultation section of this report. So on the item, carried on 1 and 2. Thank you, Chief, appreciate it. So the other item that we held was the comprehensive zoning bylaw, which had omnibus amendments, for Q3 2016. We did have two motions on it, and if I could just ask Councillor DeBruce to move the first motion on Ashton Station Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the motion is therefore that the following changes be made to staff report. 1, amend document 1 by deleting the map shows as figure 4 and replacing it with the map attached to motions, and 2, amend document 3 by replacing the proposed exception with the following, and we have a graph here. And be it further resolved that there be no further notice pursuing the section 3417 of the Planning Act.
Thank you. So that's just really a technical amendment to change slightly something with the report that was just inaccurate. And then the other motion is to bring it forward, to bring the entire report forward to council tomorrow. Again, it has to do with timelines, actually is relating specifically to this Ashton Station Road property because of timelines for building permit and whatnot, that the entire report be advanced, and this as well as moved by Councillor DeRuse, that the report proceed to City Council on August 31st, 2016, and that no further notice pursuant to Section 34, subsection 17 of the Planning Act be given. So we do have a speaker on 3613 Ashton Station Road, Pamela Reed. Do you want to come up and speak if you'd like? It's not that official. Just hold the button there. Just, yeah, you had it. There you go. No, you almost had it now. Just try again. You're good now.
There we go. I'm Pamela Reed. I live or own 3613 Ashton Station Road. We just basically applied for a building permit, and everything is approved except for the zoning, where we found out that it was changed from MXR to MR. At the time in 2008, it should have been MR1, because all properties that had a dwelling that were MXR were changed to MR1. So I understand that this exception is what is being proposed. On our side, we would like to have it just made what it should have been. It should have been MX1, rather than just add an exception to the MR1 instead of just an exception to MR. Does that make sense? At the time in 2008, it should have been changed to MR1, yet this proposal is suggesting it stay MR with an exception. So just to, because it wasn't an issue on our side, we're just requesting that it be made what it should have been made in 2008. That's all.
Okay.
And also to follow through with tomorrow's
Yeah, of
meeting.
course. That's no problem. Sorry, yeah, this is the first I've understood that there's an issue with the zone that we're putting. Okay, I'm just going to ask Carol Wright. She's the one who works on me and all my reports for this. So, Carol. Sorry, you just got to press it. That's good. You could, don't touch it again.
Okay, so that's the purpose of the motion. The motion amends the original report recommendation, so this motion will rezone the lands to an MR1 with an exception. The exception recognizes the lot width to ensure that you've got the correct, yeah. Sorry, the setback, that's correct. So this motion does address your concerns.
Okay. That's just not what was.
I think the last time you discussed was with the planner who had been working on the report, and since that time, staff have been scrambling around to address your concerns. And so that's what this motion accomplishes.
So it will be MR1.
It will be MR1 with the exception for the front yard setback.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, so I have the motion. I can give you the motion afterwards. It does say that
Well, you see, your house is set back, I'm trying to remember now, a little bit further than is permitted. And so this exception recognizes the existing setback that you have. Basically, it gives,
Grandfather.
so you're complying with setbacks.
Perfect. Lovely. Thank you.
all right, thank you very much. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, Carol.
Happy ending. Get our permit.
Motion.
There you go. All right, I know there was another minor, yeah, so on the motion on 3613 Ashton Station Road?
Carried.
Carried, thank you. So in the report, there's also two other items with respect to the rural area. One was we had somehow switched the zoning of a church on Fluellen Road, so that's being corrected. I know that someone in my office, David Brown, is just sitting over right there, worked on that with the property owner on that. It's just a confusing thing that happened a few years ago, I guess. And then there's also just this other element that allows agricultural uses to actually be used on agricultural properties that at one point, for some reason, wasn't allowed. So there's just a strange pocket of properties that were sort of caught up in that. So this is just changing that to permit agricultural uses in smaller lots, I guess you could say, in the agricultural zone. So on the amendments to bring it forward to council tomorrow, carried, and then on the reports as amended?
Carried.
Carried, thank you. So staying to the regular agenda, I don't think we have any items. Anyone registered for the open? Okay, I'm at the open mic session portion of the agenda, and right now I have no registered speakers for the open mic. If someone would like to speak, there we go. So, seeing as I don't have your name, if you can just state your name.
It's Bob McClinton. Yeah, we've got, did I put this on yet?
It was on, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I talked to Sean,
Okay.
the application. I'd much rather have having an open sand pit and or a section. Concern was that he addressed most of them, that the culvert entrance to the site would be off off
Barnsdale Road, yeah.
rather than Moody Drive, because our farm is just on the east side of Moody Drive, on the west side of Moody Drive.
Yeah, it's a bit of a regular property. It has an address for Moody Drive, but the current access is off Barnsdale anyway, so I think I think the OFS is adding a second entrance, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yes,
Correct, yeah.
because if that becomes a permanent access to the property for other reasons, it's much better have it where they're putting it rather than off Moody Drive, because I know what happens when people try to go into if that becomes a garbage facility, the gate is closed, everything gets dumped in a ditch, or, you have a load of shingles, they got an old fridge, whatever, and first thing you know, they're also all over the place, the papers are blown in the farm field and so on.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm glad to see that the entrance is being on Barnsdale. And I understand there's going to, the berm of trees is going to remain all around the site.
Yeah, I don't think they're altering anything in the perimeter. I mean, there's open space already in the middle that they can operate within, and that's what their plan is, to operate in that open space zone already. I don't think there any intention to alter the perimeter of the property at all.
So then my main concern is just, it just doesn't become a blight on the landscape, and that, it doesn't become an eyesore, obviously, because it impacts our property, and we're pretty proud of our farm there. Actually, as you know, we talked about it before, we keep it really nice and clean. And the other thing is the smoke, and I know it's not a big issue, but if you have to look at it every day, 365 days a year, we're the best, not just the weekends, but I was hoping there might be some way to minimize it, or maybe there's a way to vaporize the smoke or do something with it. But it's not always staring you in the face, put it that way.
Yeah, from what I understand, it won't be, I mean, it's not burning every day, and I think the smoke emitted from the containers that they're burning within is no more than, let's say, your backyard bonfire.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be, I mean, certainly agricultural burning that happens nearby to your property for the last several years has been more impactful than what's going to happen on this property.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the risk to health or anything.
Well, no, but just, yeah, like I said, it shouldn't be too
Annoying,
onerous or whatever, not onerous isn't the word.
annoying, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it's, like I said, it's not going to be a constant burn every single day, and it's going to be relatively controlled.
Oh, well, Sean has already sent me, we've had some communication,
That's good, perfect.
and as I said, I'd rather have him as a neighbor than an open sandpit. And, thanks very much. I just wanted to minimize the smoke. If anything could be done to, like, out of sight, out of mind, you know?
Sure.
Like, if it's burning there all the time, and it just is a bit of a blight. And if that can be minimized, that's the only thing that's left on my agenda, I think, that I'd like to see.
Sure, yeah, I mean, obviously, if the deputy chief has reached out to you, then you have his contact info, so anything in the future as it goes forward, I'm sure I'd be more than willing to take your calls on it and stuff. All right, thank you. On an unrelated matter, you never called me back after the ditching thing with the culverts and whatnot. Has that worked out well for you?
Yes, it did,
Perfect.
and I thank you very much for that.
Good stuff.
I thought I did call back.
I don't think you did.
Maybe I didn't, but
I was waiting for it. But, all right,
it worked out well.
good,
And I hope it stays that way.
good stuff.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. McLean. Good, so no more registrants for the open mic session. Any notices of motion? Nope, good. Inquiries? None. Other business? None. On adjournment? Carried. Thank you very much. Our next meeting is Thursday, October 6th at this same venue, same time, but on a Thursday. All right, thank you.